What's going on YouTube? Today we're going to talk about antivirus evasion but with shellcodes, using shellcodes. In the previous videos we talked about obfuscation, sandbox evasion and signature evasion as methods to protect your code and evade antivirus. But the previous methods, if you have watched the previous videos, rely on C knowledge. So basically you need to understand how to write the code, interpret the code, and thus be able to obfuscate the code using various obfuscation techniques. So it happens at the source code level. Now with shellcodes, what do we do here? Today we're going to talk about antivirus evasion but with shellcodes. So basically shellcodes are machine code instructions. They're written in assembly language. Okay, so that's the main language by which we write shellcodes. And after we write them, we translate them into hexadecimal format. Okay, so the main objective of a shellcode is to tell a program what to do. So basically we can inject a shellcode into a program, no matter what the program is. The shellcode will tell the program to run specific code. Normally the code will execute the attacker's desired commands, such as reverse command shell. So you can create shellcode to execute reverse command shell, or you can create a shellcode to just print out a text, printing out something, printing out text. Depends on your objective. So we create the shellcode using assembly language and we translate them into hexadecimal format. So to create shellcode, guys, we need to have deep knowledge in assembly language, and it's the ultimate method in bypassing antivirus. So to bypass antivirus completely, you either have to create the shellcode yourself using assembly language, or you have to use obfuscating methods on the source code level. Okay, that's the ultimate way to evade antivirus completely. How about if we don't know how to use assembly language? That's why we have other tools to generate shellcodes. So basically, before we generate shellcodes, let's first understand or have basics understanding of the portable executable structure. So the portable executable, it is the way we organize Windows executable file formats. So it's responsible for organizing executable files. Okay. Why we need to have basic understanding of portable executables? It's because the shellcode, most of the time, it's injected in a data section of the portable executable. Of course, if we are talking about a shellcode that is embedded inside a Windows executable file format. There are many other formats in which we can use to embed shellcodes. But let's talk about executable file, which is the most common. So basically, a portable executable has two sections. So let's open board here. So the portable executable has first the PE header, okay, and we have another section called the data section. So the portable executable header contains information such as metadata about the executable, metadata, pointers, links to addresses in memory, to memory addresses. On the other hand, data section of the portable executable contains, let's say, information required for loading the program or running the program. So basically in the data section we see information about something called the Windows loader. The Windows loader is responsible for running your program. Okay, for example, we can run executable code. It may have also resources, links to libraries, DLLs, variables, all the necessary resources to run the program. So here the data section responsible on running the program, and the PE header contains metadata and information about the memory, pointers, whatsoever. Another thing to know, guys, is that the PE structure or the data section may contain different types or may hold different kinds of data. That's why you may see sections inside the portable executable such as .text. You may see .data. These are all data sections. .pss. Also we have .r data, .e-data. Every section of these contains different sort of information. For example, the .text stores the actual code of the program. .data holds the variable, all the variables. The PSS holds the uninitialized data, the declared variables that don't have any value assigned to them. R data contains read-only data. E data contains exportable objects here. So here we talk about exportable objects and table information. And there are many other sections that you can find if you visit the Microsoft documentation. Okay. Now, why do we need to know about portable executable? As I told you guys, many times the shellcode is injected in the data section of the portable executable. So if you are doing some sort of analysis, by analyzing the portable executable, specifically the data sections, we will be able to find out if the shellcode is injected or not. The other reason is that antivirus software and malware analysts analyze executable files based on the information in the PE header and other PE sections. So that's the importance of portable executable. Okay. Now there is a task attached to the VM here. Task 3. We will talk about task 3 now. So in task 3, let's go to the machine here. So in the machine, we open PE pair. Okay, so here we will load an executable file. As you can see, these are the data sections I talked about in the very first of the video. Data, text, and every section of these is responsible of holding different sort of information. Now there are a couple questions attached to the task. Let's go over them and provide the answer. So the first one, what is the last 6 digits of the MD5 hash value of the executable? Let's put this here. Okay. So if you go to general, here we have general information about the portable executable, and here you can check the MD5 hash. Take or copy the last 6 digits and answer the task. What's the magic number value of the THM? So the magic number is an indication of the type of file. So if you go to the DOS header, you will find out the magic number attached. Next one, what's the entry point value of the file? The entry point value. Let's go back and go to optional headers. In the optional headers, we'll be able to find out or to pinpoint the entry point. How many sections does the executable have? Let's go back. If you go to general, or if you go to section headers, let's see. Yeah, in the file header, we have the number of sections or the sections count, which is 7. A custom section could be used to store extra data, as we explained in the video. Malware developers use this technique to create a new section that contains their malicious code and hijack the flow of the program to jump and execute the content of a new section. What's the name of the extra section? Okay, so if we need now to find out where are the section, the three of the sections. So if we go to section headers, as you can see, these are all the sections that we have. We have a new custom one that seems out of the box, which is flag. This is not a default section in a portable executable. That's why we know that it has been injected or created by someone else. If you click on that, we can see we have the raw address or the virtual address. To find out the exact content, we can right click here and click follow on click. As you can see, the flag here appeared, THM. Let's copy the flag and provide the answer here. All right. Now, having answered or solved this task, let's go back to the explanation. So we talked about the shellcode, the definition of shellcode, how we write shellcodes, the objective of the shellcode. Also, we talked about the portable executable, brief of course about portable executable and the importance of portable executable in understanding how shellcode works and where would they be injected. Now let's talk about staged with non-staged payloads. So if you prepared or if you have prepared in the past payloads using MSF Venom, you will understand the difference between staged and non-staged payloads. So basically, non-staged, or we call it stageless payloads. Stageless payloads, they run one at a time. So the shellcode and the payload are all one piece. So we have the shellcode here, okay, and we have the payload that is carrying over the shellcode to the victim. So the payload is executed on the victim system. At the same time, it executes the accompanying shellcode. We call this the staged or the stageless payloads. Okay, what are the advantages of stageless payloads? So basically what happens here is that all the executable, all of the shellcode and the payload, they're all packed in one executable, right? This saves you time. At the same time, it doesn't require network connection. So if you are dealing with a network with firewalls or intrusion prevention systems, the stageless payloads are good to go because they are very good at not triggering the intrusion prevention system. Why? Because simply they don't make any connection outside, only if they are reverse shells. But they are very different from staged payloads. And now we talk about staged payloads. So staged payloads, they are executed, or a staged payload is composed of two parts. The first part is the dropper, okay, and the last part is the shellcode. So why we call them staged? So what happens, the first thing is the dropper is executed on the victim machine, okay, and then the dropper will download the shellcode from your machine. So basically, once a dropper is on the victim machine, it needs to make a network connection to be able to retrieve the shellcode from your machine. Okay, now there is in the task here, let's go back. So as you can see here, there is a representation or diagram of this. This is the stageless payload. No, this is the stageless payload. As you can see, on the victim's machine, the shellcode and the payload are executed one at a time, and they send the reverse shell to the attacker machine. On the other hand, in the case of staged payloads, as you can see here, there is the stage 0 stub, okay, which is a dropper, and then the stage 0 stub retrieves the shellcode from the attacker's machine. Okay, as you can see, it is retrieved as a later stage, and then it gets executed on the victim machine. That's how we call them staged. Now, what are the advantages of staged payloads? Basically, the staged payloads, they are very good at bypassing antivirus, since the dropper doesn't have anything suspicious, okay, and the shellcode is executed in memory. It doesn't touch the disk. That's why they are very good at bypassing antiviruses. Okay, now if you have used MSF Venom in the past, MSF Venom, I don't think I'm writing good today, but anyway, MSF Venom, or even in Metasploit, MSF framework. In Metasploit, you can create staged and stageless payloads, but the difference is that in staged payloads we use slashes. For example, Windows, okay, x64 shell / reverse underscore TCP. That is staged payload. On the other hand, when you see the same payload here, okay, instead of slashes there are underscores, such as say Windows, okay, /x64. Now after 64, shell, reverse, TCP are also all of these words are separated with underscore, like shell underscore reverse underscore TCP. That is stageless payload. You can create both payloads using MSF Venom, or you can use both payloads using MSF Venom. So back to the original point, how shellcodes are created. Okay. Now shellcodes are created either using tools, as we illustrated using MSF Venom, or manually. Now to create shellcodes manually, again I will restate that you need to have excellent knowledge in assembly language. If you don't have, you have to use public tools. And if you're using public tools such as MSF Venom to create your shellcode, you will have to use various obfuscation, encoding, decoding, packers and binders techniques. That's why here we list ways of evading antivirus with shellcodes. The first one is to use encryption, encoding, encryption, packers and binders. But it is not that simple. Why? Most antivirus vendors, their database is rich of signatures that can detect the shellcodes created with public tools such as MSF Venom. So no matter how much encoding or encryption you do on the shellcode, as long as you're using a public tool such as MSF Venom, your chances of being caught is so high. So that's why the alternate method is to create your own shellcode, or yes, you can create a shellcode using public tools, but you will have to use your own methods of encoding, encryption, packing and binders. So what do we mean by that? So we can achieve, for example, encoding and encryption with MSF Venom. For example, this command here, as you can see, we specify the encoder to be x86 Shikata and the iterations, number of iterations to be 3. And by the way, you can get a list of the encoders in MSF Venom using the following command. Here you will get a list of all of the encoders along with the rating. But again, even if you're using encoders to encode the payload, since you're using MSF Venom, the payload most probably will be caught. Additionally, we can use encryption as well to encrypt the payload. For example, we can, instead of listing the encoders, we can list the encryption methods. So we have AES, base64, RC4, XOR. Let's take an example. MSF Venom -B, Windows, x64, meter, reverse, TCP. So this is a staged payload, lhost. Let's put the IP address. Port 4545-F, executable file, and then we encrypt the file or the shellcode. Encrypt with XOR, let's say --encrypt -key, encryption key here. Could be anything you want, and then -O. The output will be, say, any name you want, rev shell XOR exe. We can test the effectiveness of this method by trying to upload this to the AV scanner hosted on the machine. As you can see, the file has been created, and now we can test the payload. Upload. We select that and we upload. Let's see. As you can see, it has been caught, and this is the thread type Windows 64 interpreter. So even if we have used encoding and encryption on the payloads, it didn't work simply. And I explained the reason why, since because most antivirus vendors and solutions, they have database of signatures that are able to detect the shellcodes and payloads created with public tools such as MSF Venom. That's how we resort always to, even if we are not able to create the shellcode manually, we need to encrypt it or encode it using manual methods. So if you go now to the other machine attached to this task, okay, so close this one. We go to tools and we check the CS file, C# files, the encryptor. Right click. Okay. So this is the encryptor here. The encryptor, guys, here, what it does a combination of XOR and base64 to bypass the antivirus. Sorry, the encoder. Okay. So the encoder here, it does both XOR and base64. to bypass the antivirus. So what you have to do here, guys, you have to put your payload here in hexadecimal format, your raw shellcode here. Okay, we put it here as a value to the buff variable, and we change the key. So let's go back to the other machine. Okay. So no, instead of encrypting the payload with MSF Venom encryptor, we're going to create a payload from scratch, or shellcode from scratch using MSF Venom. And then we will encode the payload or encode the shellcode using the encoder we have seen in this task or in this machine. So MSF Venom from scratch, create one, lhost -p Windows x64 better. Let's not choose better this time. Let's do something as shell reverse TCP and choose the format to be C#. Okay, now we will have to copy this so we can copy the shellcode here, guys, and place it as a value to the BUF variable. What's going to happen here, the encryptor, okay, will encode the payload using base64 and XOR. So in order to get the new version of our shellcode, we will have to compile this. So we go back to the desktop. I've created a backup copy of the encryptor. So we use CSC. Let's see here. Okay, they are. As you can see, we have created now the compiled version. We can execute this compiled version to get the encoded format or the new format of the shellcode. As you can see, this is the newly encoded shellcode. Now we can place this shellcode somewhere or place it in the dropper. Okay, if you are writing the dropper from scratch, this is the encoded shellcode using base64 and XOR simultaneously. Now, what about if you go back now and examine this one, encrypt Stageless? So in this code, what we're going to do here, guys, there are some adjustments that have been made. What's going to happen, the code will decode, the code here is going to decode the shellcode before executing it. Okay, again, to match the encoder, we will decode everything in the reverse order we encoded it. So we start by decoding the base64 content and then continue by executing the result with the same key we used in the encoder. That is the objective of this code. Okay, so basically here we will place the encrypted shellcode we have created from here. Okay, copy that and place it here. Okay then. So now let's compile the payload again. Save. Let's have a backup copy here. Name it v2, and then we're going to compile this. And now we have this. So now if we execute this, guys, we should receive the reverse shell. Checking out the attacker machine. As you can see, we have received the shell. So that's what we did, guys. Now there are no flags attached to this task. Simply you have to understand the concept. And in the next video, guys, we're going to discuss the packers and encoders. So in a nutshell, if you're writing your own shellcode manually using assembly language, this is fine. But if you're using MSF Venom or public tools to create your shellcode, you will have to perform the encoding and encryption manually as we performed. Okay, so we encode and encrypt and then we compile. Thank you for watching.